Hey everyone, it's Rico here. Wanted to do a video of the change that I have made from a modded Arcade1Up Street Fighter 2 cabinet to a Game Room Solutions Level Up cabinet. And I'm going to go ahead and split this video up into two parts, as there is just a ton of information that needs to be covered. And I want to make sure that everybody gets all of the information needed so that if in the future you decide you want to get either Arcade1Up or a Game Room Solutions Level Up cabinet, you have all the information that you need to make a better decision. All right, so part one is going to be dedicated just like my Arcade1Up video, where I'm going to just cover all the details of this cabinet, the things that I used to put it together, the reasons why I put it together, cover everything from the front, the sides, the back, and then the inside. And then part two, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the differences between the modded Arcade1Up cabinet that I had and the Game Room Solutions Level Up cabinet, and the reasons why I made the change. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and just jump right into this cabinet and start talking about all the aspects of this cabinet and just some of the things that I went through the process to build it and put it together. Okay, so first thing is when you go to the Game Room Solutions website and you order the base kit, what the base kit is going to include is essentially the panels for the cabinet and the trim molding. Okay, so you do get all the woodwork that's on here and the trim molding. One option that you get to choose when you order the kit is the color of the melamine on the wood. So you can either choose white or black. I chose black so that it complements with the artwork on the cabinet. Another thing that you also get to choose is the color of the trim molding. As you can see here, I chose white so that it also complements with the artwork. All right, one thing that is important to know is that when you order the base kit, the trim molding does not come pre-installed into these pieces of wood. You have to do the installation of the trim molding. For myself, when I actually got this cabinet, I had to watch a couple videos so that I could learn how to do it. It's not difficult, but there are some levels of skills that you need to consider in order to make sure that it's kind of professional. So when you're taking these curves right here that are sharp, it doesn't look all bulgy and everything like that. So if you feel uncomfortable doing the trim molding, just want you guys to know that when you order the kit, it does not come pre-installed. So make sure you take that in consideration if you decide that you want to order this. Okay. Now, added options that are extra costs outside of the base kit that I got is printed vinyl artwork and installed onto the pieces of the kit. And another one that I also got that is added cost is the pedestal is essentially a foot riser, just like the Arcade1Up. It's just a riser. Okay, the riser does come with the artwork that you can use to install, and that was also installed in this particular kit. And we'll go over that on the bottom when we get to it. So again, when I ordered the kit, I basically got a chance to choose the color, the trim molding, and then I also paid extra for the artwork, also installed, and the pedestal. So those were my added costs. For those of you who have seen my Arcade1Up video, there are going to be some repeat things in this video, so you can skip forward if you don't want to see it. But because I took a lot of the guts from my Arcade1Up and then just transferred them over into this cabinet, so I'm going to just repeat that information for those who have not seen my Arcade1Up video. Okay, all right. So that's basically the base. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the artwork itself. Okay, I'm going to just talk about, more or less what I did to create the artwork. So what I basically did is when you order the artwork, they give you these templates into Photoshop, and you can take those templates and then just essentially design all the artwork that you want for it. On the website, they do have some pre-designed artworks from other people. Just as a heads up, because I've seen videos of people who order, like, let's say the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and if you really take a look at the artwork, some of the graphics have been just stretched and looked a little bit abnormal, and that's not the fault of Ryan. That's basically him just posting somebody else's artwork, and they're the ones that did that. So again, that's just something that you either choose somebody else's artwork that may not look so good, or you do it yourself. So just as a heads up. So what I did is basically I used this, I found this star field like this, and it's got that bluish tint, which is one of my favorite colors. And so I use this as the background pretty much for the entire arcade. If you look up here on the marquee, you'll see the star field. If you look over here, you'll see the star field also. And so that's my background. Then what I basically, I kind of started really mostly to design up here on the marquee. Because again, it was just the way that I liked it, and I want to make sure that I had the logo and stuff. And so that's the background, and I wanted to create all these little electric kind of fields, going through the marquee, just to give it a more, just a little bit more powerful image. And so what ended up happening is I started essentially adding these lightning bolts all through the artwork. I started going through and looking at all these different artworks that I wanted to include, and I got to the Mortal Kombat 2 side art, which is on the Mortal Kombat 2 Real Arcade. And it's basically got Raiden just like this. He's holding his arm up, and the lightning is essentially shooting from his hand. And so what ended up happening is once I saw that, I said, hey, wait a minute, I can incorporate this image with the design of all the little electric things that I had up here and make it look like Raiden is essentially, electrifying this whole cabinet. And so that's kind of where the idea, combined together, is that all this lightning effect that's here is being created by Raiden. So you'll see it, over here in the front panels, and it's pretty much all over the cabinet itself. You can see it through here and here. So I was really, really happy with the ending result of how it turned out, holistically. So that's basically the artwork itself, as I ended up putting in the lightning bolts. And then as far as the logo here on the Megacade, what I really wanted to do is I wanted to represent what was inside of this arcade. And there's so many platforms that I've got in here covered that you could say it's a multicade. There's that name. I like Megacade better. It was just something that I saw, and I said, you know what, I want it to be Mega. And so I just used it like a 1980s font to create the Megacade, and so that's the name of the arcade with the logo. And I've got that here on this side, and then there's also on the other side. Okay, so that kind of covers the background and then some of the artwork that's here. Let's talk about this kind of artwork here. So for those of you guys who are kind of wondering how you do this, this is a very painstaking process, essentially, of going online and finding these photos, in as best and high resolution as you possibly can. And there may be all kinds of things that usually get included with these images. And so you have to take the Photoshop and you essentially just start kind of trimming all these little edges and try to make it as nice and crisp and clean as possible. And there are some tools in Photoshop that allow this to do it a lot easier, but it does take, time and effort and work to be able to do this. So it's not something very simple and easy to do. But essentially, I started going through and picking all these different artworks that I found online, and then just putting them on here and laying them out in a way that I felt was good. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to try to keep the artwork not too congested. I've seen a lot of other artworks where they put all these so many characters together, and that's great if that works for you. For me, I wanted to keep it a little bit more open so it doesn't look quite so busy. All right. And so that's essentially all these different characters. Now, I want to talk about this, the quality of this artwork. Guys, let me tell you, I don't think this video really does it justice. When I actually pulled this panel out of the box, I was absolutely blown away at how colorful and clean and crispy these artworks look on this vinyl that's been put onto this piece of wood. It is absolutely breathtaking and phenomenal. So I was really, really, really happy with the turnout of these prints. So just want to give you a heads up that I was very, very happy with that. Same thing over here on the marquee, guys. Like, this is printed on a translucent film so that when you put LED lights behind this, it basically shines out, which is what you're seeing here. I really don't think that this video does any justice as to just how cool this marquee looks lit up and how crispy and clean all this artwork looks. So just wanted to kind of talk about that because it is phenomenal in the way that this artwork, came out. So if you can actually order it, I highly recommend it. Okay, all right. So again, we talked about the kit, and then this is the artwork that was put in, and I'll talk a little bit more details about all these different artworks that I put in here. I just want to kind of give you a quick run as to kind of how it's installed. So when you order the artwork with the kit, what you get is you get the artwork for the left panel, also the right panel. You get the marquee, you get the bezel that's around the monitor, you get the print for the control panel, you get the print from the front panel, you also get the print for the kickplate down here. If you order the pedestal, you also get the artwork for the left, the front, and then the right. Of course, there's no artwork on the backside because no one's ever going to see it, so who cares? But that's essentially what you get when you pay for the kit and if you get the pedestal, which in this case I did. All right, now one thing that I did when it came down to the bezel is I worked with Ryan so that I can get my bezel print essentially sent out later, because I wasn't sure on the monitor install where exactly I wanted to place it. I didn't know if I wanted to place it in the center, a little bit like all the way up to the top. So I really wanted to get an idea of where I wanted the monitor first installed. And then once I got that installed and measured, then I went through and just kind of did measurements on the location of where that monitor was at so that I could design the bezel all the way around it so it looks nice and clean and fitting to the monitor. So that was just something that I worked out with Ryan. The normal bezel itself, when you order the templates, is made for a 22-inch widescreen monitor, which essentially kind of just covers right here. It's past these borders. So I wanted to give you something different that I did. Okay, so I've already kind of covered this marquee. Essentially, like I said, when we get to the inside, you'll see it, but I've got LED lights that are kind of going all the way around the inside so that it lights this thing up. Like I said before, I don't think this video really does justice as to just how awesome this thing looks, especially with the lights turned off. Okay? All right, so let's kind of work our way down here to the bezel and then the monitor. So what I've got here is this is a Dell 2007 FPB 1600 by 1200 resolution monitor, and it's a 4:3 ratio. And that's something I transferred from my Arcade1Up. And guys, I'm gonna tell you, I talked about this on my Arcade1Up. I'll also mention it just the same way on the Level Up cabinet. This monitor fits so good into this cabinet. For those of you who've seen the Arcade1Up, the monitor itself actually fit like flush. Like on the Arcade1Up, this was the edge right here, and then this was the edge. So you can kind of see how much wider the difference is. It's pretty much almost like, if you kind of look, almost like a little bit more than 2 inches, or give or take, on this side, and then 2 inches on this side. So it's kind of how much bigger and wider the Arcade1Up, the Level Up cabinet is versus the Arcade1Up. So with this monitor, again, it just looks phenomenal. One of the things that I really like about the arcade setup is if you can keep a 4:3 aspect ratio on the monitors, I highly recommend it. A lot of these arcade games, when they're created, they were made for a CRT, which is at a 4:3. If you get a widescreen monitor, you'll have to get something like a Bezel project or something to kind of fill in the sides. And to me, that's okay. I just think that the 4:3 natural makes the experience much better. And surprisingly, even for games like Galaga that are vertical, up and down, if you actually stretch it on these 4:3s, it really doesn't look that bad. If you try to stretch that on a widescreen, it's atrocious. It looks really, really bad. But on this 1600 by 1200 at 4:3, the stretching of the Galaga actually doesn't look that bad. So a lot of times I just keep it all full screen so that it fills it up. But again, that's your preference, and you choose whatever works for you. But what I basically did on this bezel is I'm not going to take credit for the design on this because I was working with one of my friends and just trying to get all kinds of ideas to design the artwork, and this was kind of his suggestion, which to me actually worked out really well. So what I basically did is I just took screenshots of some of the games, you know, and I tried to kind of represent different platforms all the way through, and then just, you know, created this border artwork to fill in the space, you know, to the monitor. And, you know, to me, it actually came out really, really nice all the way through. So I'll just kind of give you a quick little look here so you can see, you know, like right here, I've got Metroid. This is a Space Ace and Dragon's Lair for the Daphne. You got the Double Dragon and Street Fighter on the arcade. Here's like Blaster Master for NES, Killer Instinct, and there's Sonic for Genesis. There's Tekken, and then like Zelda in the Link side. So again, I just grabbed all kinds of different artwork and filled it in. Really, really happy with the results. So thanks, my friend, for giving me the idea. I really appreciate it. It came out great. Okay. All right. Let's kind of look up here just a little bit. So you've got essentially here and here. These are the cutouts for the speakers, and they are 4-inch speakers. When we get into the inside, we'll go into some more details about that. But these are part of the kit. They already come pre-routed and drilled. One thing that does not come with the kit is this LED. Pretty much any of the LEDs that you see through here are not a part of the kit. I had to actually install them myself. Okay, so what it basically comes down to is these LED lights right here. They're shining down and lighting up this bezel and the control panel. Of course, when you look at it right now, you can see that I'm actually much lower. You can see the reflection of the LEDs. This is not accurate. When I'm actually up here much higher, you can see that the reflection goes away. I just want to kind of lean down here so you can see that they are there. And this just adds so much visibility to the game. Or to the arcade itself. And so I'll kind of talk about this a little bit holistically, because what ended up happening and how I got to this is that when I got the Marquee all installed and lit up, this area right here, as well as down here, it looked kind of darkish. I'm not going to say it was like, you know, like black where you can't see it. It just didn't quite match with the Marquee because it looks so nicely lit up and crisp. And then, I'm looking down here and it's kind of darkish. And especially right down here into the Kickplate, I was kind of like a little, like this doesn't really look illuminated. And the artwork on this just looks so freaking cool. It's really clean and crisp. And so I kind of thought, I'd really like to highlight and put some light on this so that I can actually enjoy the visuals and the artwork. And so what I ended up doing is I put some LED lights down here to shine that. Well, that's where it started. And then once I did that and saw the ending result, I said, oh, that's great. Now let me go ahead and do that down here. So I put some LED strips right here on the control panel to light the front. And then the last thing was over here into the front bezel area and then the control panel. And so I ended up putting lights up here so that I can light this and this up. So just wanted to give you a heads up that's why this whole thing right here is all lit up with LEDs, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Like I said, especially when you turn the lights off. So this was, again, customizations that I put in. Okay. All right. So talked about the display, and when we get to the back side, you'll see how it's installed. It's actually pretty cool and very easy. Okay, let's move down here to this control panel. I'm going to probably say that this is one of the coolest features of this kit is this control panel. If you guys can see, it's nice and wide, especially compared to the Arcade1Up. And what ended up happening for me, at least, for those of you guys who have seen my Arcade1Up, is on the Arcade1Up I had to drill kind of holes down here on the bottom where the front plate was at to add buttons, because the Arcade1Up only comes with the 6 that are right here and then the joystick area. And so I had to create a couple extra buttons here so I can do coins and pauses and stuff. And the cool part is on the Level Up cabinet, this is basically already pre-drilled, and this is the layout that comes with the kit. And it just so happened to fit all the different buttons that I had, so it was perfect. I didn't have to do any kind of modifications whatsoever. Okay, so one of the things you may notice is that the buttons, you know, they've got a really good separation between the arcade stick and the buttons, and they have an ergonomic kind of what do you call it, feel to it. They're not straight across like the Arcade1Up. So when you put your fingers here naturally, you can see that they're just kind of having an archway to it. Same thing down here. If it was an Arcade1Up, it would be more like this, where your middle finger is a little bit more crooked, and then the side finger here is a little bit more crooked. But with this, it's kind of just, you can just hold it flat, and so it fits really nicely. Okay. Let me kind of talk about the joystick, the button layouts here. So the way I've got it is, obviously these are just like your normal Arcade1Up buttons. And then I've got the player one start. This is either the coin or select, depending on your platform. And then over here, I've got pause emulation, escape emulation, save state, and then load state. And then, of course, the button twos. The arcade sticks and the buttons are Suzo Hap. They're not Sanwa, which is the other style. And when we get into the bottom of this, you'll see some of the specialties. Okay, so one thing to note that you probably noticed is that there's no cover for the control panel. Well, it actually does come with a cover, and it does have a plexiglass cover that fits in here perfectly. The reason that I took it out is because when I installed the LEDs up here, the cover was creating, you know, a really big reflection down here. And so I would prefer to have this all lit up instead of having the reflection. So it was just a small sacrifice, taking out the protection. The vinyl on here is actually really, really good. I play with this a little bit and I haven't seen any kind of wear and tear. The great part is if it really, really gets to a point that it's bad, I can always just pull the artwork out and put it back in. I really don't think I'm going to run into a problem. Like I said, I'd prefer to, not have the reflection on here and have the whole thing lit up. So small sacrifice, but it does come with the protective cover, just to let you know. Okay. All right. So one thing I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to go ahead and turn the arcade off, because right now I've got all the LEDs turned on. And so one of the cool parts about this control panel is that it does flip up. And when I do that, all the LEDs that are down here are going to just kill this video. And so I want you guys to see it while it's all on and all the LEDs are on, so you can see the visuals and some of the things that I've done with it. Okay. All right. So real quick, before I actually turn it off, I just want to kind of give a brief overview on what I've got here. So this is Launchbox. It's a front end, and it is a fully paid version of the front end. And let me tell you guys, to me, this is kind of the bread and butter of this arcade. It just makes it look so much better in the navigation with the videos kind of playing through. And what it essentially does is when you take Launchbox and you combine it with an account from EMU Movies, this is where this whole product shines. And I'll leave some links on the bottom of, so you can kind of see the two. I won't go into the details of, what's in here and how you set it up, but I just want to let you know that that's what's on here. And this is a full PC that's inside of this computer. It is not a Raspberry Pi. So if you have a Raspberry Pi, you cannot use Launchbox. It essentially works on a PC. Okay, so this is basically my my motif here. You can essentially got these clear logos for the games, and then there's these kind of theme videos or just regular videos that play for the game, so you can see that. You can back out of it. These are some of the platforms that I have installed, like Arcades and Daphne and TurboGrafx 16 with NES and Sega CD, Dreamcast, Genesis, Model 2, Model 3, PlayStation, Super Nintendo, and then American laser games. So, okay. So just kind of quick go over that. All right. So here's what's going to happen is I've got a button underneath here that I'm going to push, and it's going to turn the arcade off. So when I push it, it's going to go into shutdown. And what essentially is going to do is once it goes through the whole shutdown, all the LEDs and everything will shut off at the same time. When we get into the inside arcade, I'll describe how this happens, all together. So there it goes. Everything is shut down. All right, so let's get into this control panel. So here's the deal. What happens is you just literally pull up on it, and there you go. Now you can access all the guts of this panel. and you've got essentially kind of a compartment down here that you can use for storing or just putting things into your arcade. So this is super cool, guys. Like, just to be able to flip this thing up and down, it's gold. It's super cool. Okay, so let's talk about some of the little, additions here and changes. So here's all the LED lights that are basically shining into this front plate. And normally I can actually see some of the color that's been rubbed up here because I've been, lifting up with my finger. But all I did was I took a Sharpie and just kind of colored it through here so it blends a little bit more with the black melamine that's on here. And this is the power cable that I've got feeding through to the inside to power it up. Okay, all right, so let's talk about this control panel from Gamer Solutions. Again, one of the really cool things about this whole thing is this panel, especially right here on the joystick side. Okay, so if you guys look over here, I'm going to show you. Here is the modifications that I had to do, essentially grabbing a Dremel and just shaving off plastic, because what was happening is the buttons and the joysticks, especially for these Suzo Haps, this thing is just way too big to fit, and it was pressing right against these buttons. So I had to shave off that plastic in order to actually fit them in there and make them work. All right. When you go with this kit, you don't have that problem. The kit essentially has already this pre-routed slot, and the best part is it has the holes that are drilled already in place for either a Sanwa joystick or a Suzo Hap competition joystick. And so that just makes it real easy. There's really no modifications or anything that you have to do. It just fits in there like a glove, essentially plug and play. So that's super awesome. And of course, that's on both sides of this control panel. All right. Now, as far as how mine's connected, I have the zero delay USB boards. I talked about this in my Arcade1Up. If you guys get these zero delay boards, okay, they do come in two different flavors, like the cables here. If you get Sanwa style joysticks or even like Suzo Hap buttons, the connectors here, they're just a little bit smaller than like the Suzo Hap ones. And so if you get essentially like a Sanwa style USB board, the cables that'll come here, if you've got a Suzo Hap button or joystick, they won't fit. And so you'll have to do this painful customization of trying to pry these little things open, and it's just not necessary. So make sure that if you order, the USB delay case like this, that you order the right one based on what you're going to be putting in on your joysticks and your buttons. Okay. So I've seen videos of other people who have talked about the painstaking process they had to go through to do that. You don't have to do that, and I'll leave links to these so you can actually get it. Okay, so these are zero delays. I transferred them from my Arcade1Up, and they're just plugged in. I don't really care about the cable management. I'm constantly getting in here, so I don't want to jack with it. But essentially, the everything's plugged in, and then it's feeding down into this slot, into the board itself. Okay. All right, so that I think covers the control panel. Let's go and talk about this compartment that's down here. Okay. So again, you can put anything that you want here. I'm going to just talk about what I've got installed. So the first part is here are USB ports. Okay, if you guys had seen my Arcade1Up video, I basically had the USB ports kind of right here popping out and sticking onto the panel. Well, the interesting part on this Gamer Solutions is if you look over here, there's already a hole that's been pre-drilled and routed, and it's especially for this, so you can put it in there and hold it in place. Well, I didn't do that because since I've got artwork here, to me it actually looks better just to keep the artwork there with nothing popping out. And the deal is I hardly really use these except when I'm transferring files every now and then. So to me, just to leave it here and accessible, anytime that I need to just basically raise this thing up and plug in, no problems. So I think it looks better for me to keep it there, but I just want to let you guys to see that if you do want to pop it through, there is a hole already pre-drilled there for you to do though. But like I said, for me, I'm just going to leave it right there. Okay, so let's talk about this middle thing here. This is a trackball. This trackball I actually had installed in my Arcade1Up, and on the video that I created from Arcade1Up, I hadn't bought it yet, so it wasn't, you won't see it there. But essentially what it came down to is I had it installed kind of right here on the corner where the speaker was at. All right, so I'm going to tell you that when I had that installed, I did an atrocious job of installing it. I actually just didn't even think it through. It was really just stupid. So let me tell you guys what I basically did is what I was thinking is that I said, oh, I'll just take this and I'll just drill a hole, you know, that's big enough for this trackball right here. And then I'll just take this and just mount it right above. And I said, that would be great. That way I've got the trackball. Well, the stupidity part is I didn't take into consideration the thickness of these woods, okay? So the deal is that on the Arcade1Up, it's about 1/2 inch of wood, and so when I put it in, I mean, this thing was, you know, much lower than what it needed to be. It was actually functional. I could actually move it around, but it looked just terrible, and that's really just not the way that it should have been mounted. The right way to really mount the trackball, which you actually see on the full arcades that have, like, you know, the full control panel with the dedicated trackball in the middle, is it's routed just like this, and it's almost right up to the edge, so that when you take your trackball and you put it up there, it fits, you know, right up to the edge of this, and so then now the ball is what's sticking up. Okay, I looked at this. And when I first, you know, looked at, I wasn't sure how much spacing there was going to be here between the two, so that I can actually put it here. And with this trackball, there's just not enough space to do it. I mean, I could actually shave off, you know, plastic, or even take it off, you know, the mounting here, and again drill a hole through here. And again, the deal is I would still need to route to make it look right. I don't have a router, and that was one of the big things that I ran into with my Arcade1Up. I mean, the routers aren't cheap either. And so to do that, you know, nicely routed and everything like that, I just, you know, I said, you know what, I don't want to really modify this. I think it looks just fine. And when it comes down to the trackball games, what I essentially did, that's why I've got it here, is I took the cable that was normally coming up here from the top, and I moved it down to the bottom. And then I installed these rubber feet, you know, right down here onto the bottom of the trackball. And so what I basically can do is I can take it out. Let me this is going to be a little hard with just a single hand here, but apologize. So what I can basically do is just take it out and then just set it right here onto the bottom of the control panel, and then push it down a little bit. The feet are actually pretty sticky, so they don't really move very much. You can see that I'm giving this a good shake and it's just not moving. This one allows me to just play any of the trackball games that I want to. The great part is there aren't really that many games that use a trackball, so it's not a really big deal to have it embedded into the arcade. Yeah, would it be great to have it there? Yes, but I don't think it's for the small sacrifice that I got here, I don't think it's okay. For me, it's just, I think it looks better just to keep it in the way that I've got it. But it does give me at least availability to play these games if I want to. And then I can just take this, open up the control panel again, and then just put it right back here in the middle. Okay. Now, the reason, you know, in this particular case of why I've got it here in the middle, okay, is because if you look here, especially with these buttons, they're protruding out, you know, pretty good. And so if I don't stick here in the middle when I try to close this control panel, it'll hit. You know, if I decide to put it here or over here. And so at least here it allows me to close the control panel all the way down and work. So that's why I've got it here in the middle. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and talk about this guy right here. So this is a volume control knob. Okay, you can, you know, right now I've got it pretty much turned all the way down so that whenever I was showing you guys the arcade, it wasn't blasting, you know, the sound to it. But I'll leave links to this volume control. It's a PAC LC1 volume control. Used a lot for like subwoofers. And so what ends up happening is one side is going to, in this case, it's labeled output, so this is going to the amplifier, and then this is the input right here that is going into the sound card. Okay, so one side goes to the sound card, the other one goes to the amplifier. All right, and so I talked about this in my Arcade1Up video. Okay, I think honestly, if you're doing any kind of modifications, whether you're using a Raspberry Pi or a full PC, you really need to have one of these, because the volumes of the games, they just vary in sizes, in actual levels. Some are really loud and some are really soft, and so you need to have an easy way to be able to get in and adjust the volume without having to go over to the backside or, you know, somewhere where it's hard to get to. So I installed mine right here. It is being held by command strips, I'll just kind of flash real quick what command strips are. They're kind of like a new Velcro. Makes it real easy, so if you ever have to take this thing out, you can literally just pop it out, as you can see, like this, and then I can just come back in and push it down and attach it. Okay. The cool part is it got these little tabs here, so if I really ever wanted to like pull it and completely take it out from here, it comes out clean. It doesn't leave any of the gooey residue that normally Velcro does, and so that's why I love them. Very, very easy to work with. Okay, so the reason I mounted this here, I was actually thinking maybe of mounting it down here, whatever, but this just makes it a very clean way where I don't have to protrude and drill any extra holes to push the cables out, because they're actually pretty thick when you're coming through here. And since I can just lift this thing up on demand very easily, just a very easy way to lift it up, come here, make the adjustments, and then bring it back down. Okay, so that's why I installed it there. All right. Sure, you guys are probably going, what the hell is this thing in here? Why is it doing here? It's just a duster. You know, it's little things that you attach, you know, with the little wand over here so you can dust, you know, your house. And obviously, why do I have a duster? Well, you guys guessed it, right? The screen gets dusty. It's got a plexiglass cover on it, right here. And so I need something to wipe all that dust down. So that is my handy little storage. I just grab it, dust it, and put it back in. Okay. All right. Last thing, a few last things here. If you guys see here, this is the power button that I push down, you know, down here on the bottom to turn the arcade on and off. And it is a momentary switch that is plugged into the motherboard, PC, ATX, you know, jumpers that you use for the board. And so that's where that guy is. It is LED illuminated, but you'll never see it. But again, it's mounted down here on the bottom. And then this cable right here is the LED lights that are, you know, shining down to the kickplate, and they're going inside to the board itself. Again, when we get into the inside, you'll see all this stuff. But okay, so it pretty much covers everything here in the control panel. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of work our way down here a little bit. Apologize, as I have to get down to the floor. So if you look over here, you can see there's your LED lights that I installed that were up on the control panel that are shining into this front plate. And then if you come down here, you can see there's your blue LED for the momentary switch. And then here are all the LED lights that are shining to this kick plate. Okay. So, and then coming down here is the front of the pedestal itself. And let me tell you guys, I talked about this on my Arcade1Up video. I'm going to mention it again for the Gamer Solutions. If you guys have one of these arcades, whether it's an Arcade1Up or a Gamer Solutions, put these sliders on here. Oh my gosh, you have no idea, especially on the Gamer Solutions, because it is much heavier than the Arcade1Up. So to be able to move this in and out and slide it, these things are wonders. If you don't have this, let me tell you, especially on this carpet, moving this around, have fun. You're going to be breaking a sweat. So get yourself some sliders. If you got this thing on carpet, it'll make your life, you know, a heck of a lot easier. All right. Okay, guys. So I think that's pretty much everything right here over in the front side. So I'm going to go ahead and get up, and we're going to go ahead and talk about the left panel and then the right panel. And I'm going to go ahead and just talk about all the details in the artwork here so you see all the different ideas and how it came about. Okay, so over here in the artwork, I've got Space Ace with Borf, and then coming our way down, I've got Arthur with the Red Devil. You can either say this is Ghouls and Ghosts or Ghosts and Goblins, whichever you want to take. Then I've got Samus with the Metroids, you know, shooting a missile going through. Then I've got the logo of the Megacade. Coming down here, we've got Link with Zelda. This is the Golden Axe theme with the woman, the fighter, and then here's the dwarf with the axe, and then of course the dragons. Here is the Joust artwork. Then down here I've got Fulgore from Killer Instinct, and then Ryu from Street Fighter, and he's basically, you know, getting ready to do a Hadouken. Coming down here over to the pedestal, I've got the Star Fox with the ship. This is Mega Man with Qbert, and then Wolverine from the arcade. If you guys can kind of see in the background over here, I've got a Tron Legacy background, you know, from being in that world when they go into the grid. So that was one of the backgrounds that I did. Of course, the lightning bolts everywhere. All right. Kind of move a little bit over this way so you can see the kick plate. So on the kick plate over here, I've got Ken, doing a Shoryuken. We've got over here Double Dragon with Billy, and for the life of me, I can't remember what the other guy's name is with the Bobo. And then over here, we got the Killer Instinct with Glacius and Jago. Of course, I talked about Raiden over here in Mortal Kombat 2, and then Dragon Slayer. Coming down here into the front of the pedestal, I've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with Eddie Gordo and Jin from Tekken. This is Galaga, shooting the missiles. We've got Alucard from Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and then Blaster Master with Sophia. And then again, the lightning bolts going everywhere. And over here on the left, or the right side of the arcade, we've got Donkey Kong with Mario, of course. We've got Frogger with Mac and Punch-Out. We've got Sonic with Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, and then Junior Pac-Man. We've got Bowser, and then Mario. This is a Super Mario 3 theme logo. Coming down here, I've got Battletoads with Strider. This is Blanca and Orchid. And I'm going to ask you guys a question because I have absolutely no freaking clue who this guy in purple is. If you guys know who this is, let me know, because I've been trying to figure this out, going, okay, who is this? And I just don't know. So if you guys know, leave me a comment. That'd be great to know. Okay, coming down here, I've got Burger Time, Mappy, Dig Dug, and then the ship from Gradius. And then here's the Tron Legacy background again on this side. All right, with the, again, the lightning bolts going everywhere. Again, I chose this picture because I really wanted Blanca, and especially with the electricity coming out, I thought it matched really great with everything that was going through. But I had to include this guy in there, and I really just don't know, but it still looked cool. So, again, I think over here in the front, forgot to kind of show you guys that I believe, yeah, here's your Tron Legacy. Also, that's in the background here. Okay, all right, guys, so I think that pretty much covers everything here in the front. All right, so one guys that you guys saw on my Arcade1Up is this glare. I'm kind of on the fence about this, let me tell you, because in my Arcade1Up, if you guys had noticed, I actually went through and cut out a spacing here so that I didn't have this glare. But one thing that I noticed, okay, that was kind of an eye-opener, is that especially with this display, I don't know if it's kind of like when you take a, like a photo and you laminate it, where it seems that the colors just pop out when you laminate the photo. And this has that same kind of effect, that whenever I've got this plexiglass on here, when I turn it on, I notice the colors are just way more vibrant than when they're not, when I had it cut out on my Arcade1Up. So I really enjoy the colors, but man, goodness, look at this glare. It's like, so what I've kind of found so far as a sweet spot is I just turn the lights off in my office here, and so I don't get even remotely as much glare through it. I also do get to enjoy the light up that's going through here with the Marquee a little bit better. Like again, I'm still on the fence, but right now that's what I tend to do for this arcade in order for it to look good. So again, I don't know, but I think with that, everything, this pretty much concludes everything right here in the front. If you guys have any questions, of course, definitely leave me comments, anything that you want to see or you want to see more, but at least this will give you a visual of everything in the front to the way that it was put in. Okay, if you give me a little bit, I'm going to flip the arcade all the way around so we can go ahead and talk about the back and the insides and everything about it. And that'll conclude everything from part one. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, everyone, I've turned the arcade around, and let's go ahead and just start talking about everything from top to bottom, just like we did before. First thing you'll notice up here is the keyboard, just like I had in my Arcade1Up cabinet, and it's got the command strips on it exactly the same way. It's holding it down. And probably some of you guys may be sitting there thinking, why don't I have the keyboard stored inside of the control panel? I actually did originally, but there's no room, or there's not enough spacing in there to have the trackball and the keyboard together and be able to close the control panel all the way. And so I'd prefer to have the trackball in the center, just again for playability. And I don't have a problem sticking the keyboard back here so that you visibly can't see it. And that's a good compromise, at least. Okay, as we come pretty much to the back here, let's talk about the things that are included in the kit when you get it. So you do get this opening right here, opening here, open these grills pretty much already routed, and then the opening down at the bottom. There's also an opening here, but the switch does not come with the kit itself. You have to actually buy one and install it. So really pretty much the openings here, here, and here are used mostly for ventilation. And then this is kind of a handle so that you can pull on it and use it as a door, and it does have hinges on there. Okay, things that don't come with the kit are the fans and the holes. These are things that I added myself to this kit. And the reason that I need fans with my arcade is because I'm not using a Raspberry Pi, if you saw it from the front. I'm actually using a full-blown motherboard, system board system, and it does get quite hot. And with the amplifier inside of it, and then of course the monitor inside, I gotta have something to be able to ventilate and suck out all this hot air. Now I've changed the approach a little bit to what I had before from my Arcade1Up. On my Arcade1Up, I had two fans in the front that were blowing cold air in, and then two fans on the backside that were pulling out the hot air. So what I essentially did with this build is I got two fans from AC Infinity. They're a lot more on the CFMs than what I had before, which are really just like PC fans. They're also slightly bigger. I had 100 millimeter fans before. These are 120. And what I basically did is the methodology that I'm using is I'm using these two fans to suck out the hot air, and then these holes that are pretty much here become the intakes for the cold air to be sucked in, and then these basically pull the hot air out. I actually did try at least flipping one of these just to see if there was any better reaction from having one sucking the hot air out and then the other one to put the cold air in. And surprisingly, it actually makes the interior colder by having them both suck the hot air out and then have the cold air being sucked in through the holes. So it was a lot more efficient to do it this way. And the two fans are hooked up to a fan controller that I can adjust, the RPMs. And right now they're pretty much on full blast. The two fans, I believe they're 51 CFMs on the airflow. I will say that they're a little loud. I'm not going to say like loud in the sense where it's uncomfortable, but it's not quiet like a CPU fan. It does have some level of volume to it. Of course, I'll leave links to these guys if you want to look at them. So just want to let you know that if you do decide to get some of these fans, they do have some volume to them. And again, it's all about how much airflow you need to be able to suck out from the inside. All right. So let's kind of come down here to the switch real quick. And so these are very popular switches right here. They're essentially using a plug just like you would use for your PC power supply. And then they've got a manual switch that you turn on and off. Probably costs like $10 on Amazon or something like that. I'll leave links to this where I got it. Very easy to install. And when we get to the inside, I'll kind of show you just a little bit on the cabling, but it's pretty simple. The other part that is not part of your kit that I added on here, this is a network port. You can kind of see there's your RJ45. And this is just so that I can plug into a hard line and transfer any larger files if I have to that don't fit into USBs. All right. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it from the back. Let's go ahead and then down here is the pedestal opening. So let's go ahead and go through and open this guy up so that we can take a look at the inside. So essentially I can grab it here and just pull on it. And you've got your hinges here for the door. And as you can see here are the fans installed. And they're put together. The fan controller itself, which is here, and it's kind of hard to see it at this moment, does have the leads with the two inputs for the fans automatically. I'll leave links again to all this stuff right here for the fans. So really happy with the installation. I feel like this going with these fans is more of an upgrade to what I had before, and it makes it look a lot more professional. So that's one of the big reasons why I changed it. I think when I had my Arcade1Up, I really didn't care very much about the look because I was really thinking I may upgrade the cabinet in the future. So I really wasn't concerned more about the look. I just wanted the functionality of it. Okay, all right, so let's kind of dig into this. So if you kind of look in here, it's a little bit dark. On my Arcade1Up video, I also covered this, that it is a little bit dark. So one of the things that I did on my Arcade1Up video is I had an LED light that was an idea that I got from Detroit Love that you can put right here, and you push on it and it lights it up. Well, I've changed that since I pretty much installed these, which if you can look here, you can see there's a strip right here, and then I've also got one pretty much right back here on this backside. And they're just LEDs, and so what I've got is I've got a manual power switch here that I can flip, and it turns on the whole arcade. Let me tell you guys, I think pricing-wise, they're a little bit more than what I paid for that light down there, but this is just so much better and more efficient. I mean, you can pretty much lay these anywhere that you want to, and this whole cabinet is lit up. So I'm very, very happy with the way that this came out over through, and I guess I'll leave links to all these LED strips where I got them from. All right. Okay, so let's kind of work our way from the top and go down towards the bottom. So as you can see here, this is the Marquee backlit, and I've basically just got LED strips, you know, going around in a circle, and then finally ending up through here. This is your cable input right here for the LEDs, and it's going all the way through here and then plugging into these terminals. I'll talk about these terminals towards the end so you can see that this is essentially what powers up all the LEDs in the arcade. All right. Okay, so looking down below, here's the speakers that you saw the openings in the front for. They are 4-inch speakers on both sides, and they are Pioneer speakers at about 30 watts nominal, and they can be pushed up to a maximum of 200 watts. And I believe they're model TSG 1030s, if I remember correctly. And again, I'll leave links for these two. So one thing that I've done here that I've seen that a lot of people don't do on these arcades is install these spacers. I'm not saying that they're necessary, but I think that they'll probably help out with some issues that I've heard on some videos. And so I've seen different speakers, like ones that Ryan carries from Gamer Solutions. I've seen ones from Boss, some Storm Vegas, that the profile is pretty good as far as installing it flat. But what I've kind of tended to notice is that there's a tweeter that usually it kind of goes in a cone, and I'll show a picture right now, kind of goes inward, and that's where your tweeter is. And then there's kind of a circular lip around the whole speaker that vibrates up and down, and that creates your bass. Well, what I've tended to notice is that the speakers where it vibrates up and down is pretty dang close to this piece of wood or where you're mounting your surface. And so the problem that I can see, especially if you've got the volume up pretty good, is as that is vibrating up and down, it has the potential for hitting this surface. And if it does, it'll kill your bass like quite a lot. It may even make your whole cabinet just vibrate like pretty, you know, kind of weird and strange. And so by putting in the spacers here, it'll just raise it up, you know, that maybe ½ inch, just enough to allow it not to touch this surface. And then now your sound and your bass are funneled down through those opening slots that you've got, and you may not have a potential for that. So to me, this is just a really good way to install these and not have to worry about that. They're actually quite inexpensive, and it's something that I've done that I've seen that most people don't do. So I'll leave links. They're universal. What do you call it? They're universal spacers for 4-inch speakers. One thing to note is that on the kit, there are pre-drilled holes for the 4-inch speakers in here, so that's something you don't have to worry about drilling. All right, so super cool. I'm very happy with the sound in this cabinet because of the way that it is. What ends up happening as the bass is vibrating, this whole cabinet right through here becomes like a giant subwoofer. And man, talk about add to the gameplay when you're sitting there holding the sticks and you're hearing the music pumping and you're feeling it through your hands. It's just absolutely, awesome. So very pleased with the sound. So the way I've got it here is I've got 18 gauge wire, coming through here. And it's plugging down into the amp. Okay, and we'll talk about the amp once we kind of work our way downwards. But again, there's the Marquee, and then we got the speakers. Now let's talk about the monitor itself. So again, this is a Dell 2007 FPV monitor, 1600 by 1200 resolution at 4:3 ratio. And let me tell you guys, I think, like I talked about it from the front, if you can keep the monitor at 4x3, do so. Oh my God, does it really add to the playability of the arcade? You can see, I think that the sizing wise is just perfect. And it does have base amount holes on here that you can use to slide it up and down. I've seen some videos where some people have problems with this. On this particular monitor, I didn't have a single problem, other than maybe that the screws that came with it didn't quite fit the profile for this monitor. I needed them a little bit longer, and that was just as easy as going to Lowe's and just getting some longer ones. But I really didn't have to do any kind of customizations on here. It was just put it in exactly where I wanted to, screw it down, tighten it, and then we were ready to go. So a very, very easy installation on the monitor without having to do any kind of modifications. Okay, all right, as we work our way down here to the inside, this is the hole that's cut out for the control panel. And essentially what I've got here is these are the cables for that volume control. This is the cable for the power button that's going into the board itself. This is one of the LEDs that is going to the front. Actually, this is the Kickplate one. I've got one over here that's going to the front panel. And then these are the two USBs for that port that I had sticking in there. And so what's happening in these audio cables is I got two that are going to the back of this amp, and then two that are snaking through here, and then finally plugging into the sound card. All right. So the idea is that the sound is coming out of the sound card, going up to the volume control knob, and then funneling right back down to the amp, which then finally funnels up to the speakers. Okay? All right. Let's go ahead and talk about the amp. So this guy is a Pyle PCAU 25A. And let me kind of talk a little bit about this amp, because if you actually look at the reviews, I mean, some people really just dog on it and kill it. I've actually had experience with some of these Pyle amplifiers and from my workplace, and I've had really, really good experience in the quality and the sound, so that's why I kept up with this. I did have some other ones, kind of like a LaPi, that use an AC to DC converter that plug in. And my experience with the differences between this and those kinds of amps is I felt that it didn't have as much oomph and power as like one of these. It sounded more kind of like tin canny with the speakers. And so I've had, like I said, good experience with these, so that's what I kept up with. If you look over here, it's basically two channels at 40 watts. Again, my speakers were at 30 watts maximum, so they try to keep the power rating between your amp and your speakers the same. And so it was a really good balance with the two. I'm not a sound expert, so I can't vouch for this, but it's just my own, maybe my own thoughts, is that I think that having the AC to DC converter maybe tends to just bring down the power output a little bit, where this guy right here is directly plugging into 110. There's no real conversion going through there. And so it sounds to me that you're probably getting better sound out of these amps. But like I said, I think it's just, you got to just do what works for you, because like I said, I've read reviews with these that people just had horrible experiences with it. But for me, it worked out fantastic. I've used them at work, haven't had any issues. So I'm not quite sure why some people have some bad experiences with them. But this is what I got, and it works really, really good for the sound quality. Okay, so let's work our way down here to the PC side of things. And guys, for those of you who've seen my Arcade1Up video, this is just going to be kind of a repeat information. So what I've got here is I've got an old computer that I used to use over my front TV, where I kind of had some movies that I used to watch or use karaoke, and I just appropriated it for this arcade because the power is just perfect what I needed. And so what it comes down to is, this is a 650 watt power supply Corsair, and it's on an ASRock board that has a AMD 6-core Phenom processor inside of it. And it's got about 8 gigs of RAM, and if you guys can see it up there, the RAM's kind of bouncing up and down like a Christmas tree. Looks kind of cool on the inside. And let me go through all these ports here. And so what we're starting from here on the left, we've got a PS2 port. That's where the trackball is hooked up to. Right up above that is the receiver for the keyboard that you saw up at the top. Right here is a USB 2 port that is plugged into that USB button that you saw up in the front under the control panel. And then I've got a USB 3 also plugged in there. And so one of the questions that I usually get is like, why do you have them on a 2 and a 3? And the reason is because when you're trying to boot from USB, some programs, they don't detect the USB 3 controller. And so you really need to have a USB 2 in order for it to detect it. That's usually just a driver problem. But again, sometimes you got to have it. And so it's nice just to have the 2 availability in the case that I do need to. And then right here are the 2 USBs that are going to the controller boards that you saw on the control panel for the joysticks. Here is that RJ45 port for the Ethernet, and it's basically routing through here all the way out here, and here it is plugging into that port that I just drilled through. And this was really easy. Again, it was just a matter of drilling a hole, plugging it through, and then tightening it up, and we're good to go. All right, and then right below here in this USB port, this is a Wi-Fi receiver so that I can actually hook up to the Wi-Fi network and transfer some files. It makes it a little easier sometimes to do that rather than use the USB. But sometimes you need to transfer like larger files, and that's what this Ethernet port is for. We talked about this being USB. Here is the sound port that we talked about that goes up to the volume control, and then the video card itself. This is a DVI cable that is directly plugging into the monitor over on this side. And I don't know if it'll be any easier to look in here, but this is an NVIDIA. It's a GTX 750 Ti VGA that, as of right now, works pretty well for all the emulations that I've got, including all the filters turned on. I may actually upgrade this later on into the future, maybe put a 1000 NVIDIA card, but as of the moment, it looks pretty good and doing what it needs to do. And then if you kind of look towards the back there, you see the Pioneer. That is a 1 terabyte SSD drive. I actually upgraded to that guy. I wanted to keep one drive instead of having one SSD and one mechanical, which is what I used to have before. This just makes the whole setup very easy to work with. It boots fast, and then all the games, it actually improves the performance of the games like actually considerably to do the SSD. I used to have some hiccups on some of the PlayStation emulation, and now it's like super smooth, and I did nothing but just change out the hard drive. So it does make, if you can afford it and to get it, I recommend it. Okay, so basically the board itself is mounted onto this piece of wood, and if you look over here, there are these little plastic tabs that you usually get these. I'm going to go ahead and turn this thing off so it doesn't blind us here. But as you can see here, we've got these little plastic tabs. They normally come with like cases, and they're flat on the bottom. And so what I did is I got 6 of these, put them on the corners. So I got one here, one in the middle, one on the back middle, and then one on the corner over here, and the one over there. And then I just put like some hot glue under the bottom. Got this board, and then just mounted it on there, making sure that the plate here for the expansion card is right on the edge of this board so that everything fits nicely. The cool part about doing this is that if I ever in the future have to upgrade the board for whatever reason, these mount points on the boards, they're standard on all the cases. So all I got to do is unclip these and then take the new board, put it on there, even changing out the power supply, plugging it in, and we're good to go without really having to undo anything. So it makes it very convenient. Now, this again, it was something that I transferred from my Arcade1Up over to the Level Up cabinet, just 1-to-1. I didn't undo anything. So let me go ahead and turn these things back on here. Okay, and so if you back here is where all the mess of cables are. I really didn't care about cable managing because I honestly have that niche there, and I just don't see the point in it. But I took all the cables and just shoved them over towards the backside, keep everything out of the way. All right, so one thing that I did do that does not come with the kit is this black shelf. All right, so let me kind of show you a little bit. Here's what I did. So I've got a shelf here, and if I lift this up, you can see those little tabs right there. So those are the kind of tabs that you usually see when you get like a bookcase, that you've got like little holes, on the side that are for shelves, and you've got those little tabs that you push in there and, put them all the way down and then they lay flat. That's exactly what that is. I just picked up 4 of those, you know, over at your local hardware store, whether it's Home Depot or Lowe's, and just drilled the holes, made sure that everything was nice and level, and just put them in there. And then I bought a black shelf and cut it up to the exact size of this cabinet, and then just laid it on the top. Very easy way to create a shelf. And the reason that I did this, okay, is because if we look down here, if you can see there's a screw there. There's also another one right here, and then on the back side, and it may be hard to see, yeah, there's one like right there, and then over on this side there's another one. And so those are the screws that are used to hold down this pedestal, okay, and to put it all together. And so to me, it seemed more appropriate to just have everything lifted so that I didn't have to worry about, you know, moving this thing up and playing around with it. If I ever needed to do anything down here below, adjust any of those screws for whatever reason, it just made it nice and convenient to have that spacing down here to do anything without having to mess around with it too much. So that's why I did that. Okay. Again, that's not part of the kit. It is something that I did. Okay. Let's kind of look up here at this power strip. So this guy, Trickle Star power strip, I'm not going to take credit for this because I believe in giving credit to anything that you take from other videos. So this power strip idea I got from another video, and I apologize if I completely kill his last name, but it's his name is Brian. I don't know if it's Wahaf or Wahaf. But he has this power strip on his Arcade1Up video. And thanks, Brian, very much for putting your experience with this. And really what it comes down to is there are 2 outlets here that are always feeding power to it no matter what. But then there's one over here that's called control. And then there are 4 other ones that are tied to this control. And it's specifically almost made for these power supplies in the computer. It detects whenever there's power going through here. And when there is, all these 4 right here that are tied to this control also turn on. So when this is off, those turn off. And that's what you saw, that when I hit the power button in the front, what it does is I've got, obviously the computer hooked up to it, but I've got the amp, the monitor, the LEDs all through the cabinet, and the fans plugged into these 4 outlets. And so when this thing turns off, it turns off all those devices. And equally the same way, when you turn it on, it turns on all those devices at the same time. So it keeps everything nice and clean with one button without having to adjust. Like you guys saw in my older Arcade1Up cabinet, I had kind of like a manual switch that I used from the front to be able to do that. That's because I didn't have this this power strip. So again, thanks, Ryan, very much for posting that. I really appreciate you doing that. It really saved me a ton of work and having to get into Google and just kind of search for that. Okay, and so the way I've got this thing hooked up is inside of here. I've got, basically what I just took is I've got a extension cord, and this is the female end. And it's just literally snaking through here, and it's plugging right in to that switch right here. And I apologize for the LEDs here, but it's basically going into this switch, and it's directly spliced in. And it's just using terminal connectors that are shielded, and they're plugged in there. Ryan actually has a video showing you how to plug these things in, so I won't go through the details of it. Okay, but the thing that I think is a little different is that in his video, he's actually cutting this and directly plugging it into here. I didn't want to go that route because what it does is, let's just say that this trip light, for whatever reason, or this trickle star fails in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to have to literally undo these and re-terminate a new one. By doing this methodology, I don't have to do that. I can just unplug it here, plug in a new one, and be ready to go. Okay, and you never know, maybe they'll come out with something even better than this. So it just keeps it nice and easy to be able to change in the future if I have to. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and work our way over here. Let me move these cables a little bit out of the way here. Here is the AC Infinity fan controller. Like I said, I originally kind of started out like this, and then over the time just kept moving it and moving it and moving it and moving it until I got the right airflow to suck out all this hot air from inside this cabinet to the outside. And as you can see, it's plugging into the fans as we saw before. Okay, last thing that we've got here, but not least, is here are the terminals that we saw before. So this is just kind of a little thing that I created myself. I had a whole bunch of these terminals that I had from other projects, so I just kind of adopted it. And so really what it comes down to is I just took a Sharpie and labeled which side was going to be the negative, which is the black side here. And then I took some crossover cable and just soldered the leads from each color side. So like this one that's not black goes to this one that's also not black, that goes to this one. So they're all daisy chained, and then the black ones are also daisy chained together and they're soldered into the back. And so what happens is this just becomes one big power module. This is the input source right here on the left that is coming down and plugging into this AC adapter for the LEDs. And so then all these right here get the power to fire up on the LEDs. So what this basically does, it just allows me to isolate any of the LEDs if they ever go out or I need to pull one out. I don't really have to cut or strip or do anything unusual. It's just a matter of undoing the terminals and pulling them out. Equally the same way, if I need to add any more terminals, I can keep adding some more into here and adding some more cable, and it just daisy chaining the power. So very quick little easy way to keep the powers together, and as you can see, it is on command strips, so that if I need to pull this thing out, I can. Nice and easy. Okay, and last thing is, if you look up here, here is kind of a hinge point for the door, and that's what catches right up here into that lip, so that's more or less what keeps the door closed. Okay, guys, so I think that's pretty much it. Pretty much covered everything from here to the speakers, to the monitor, the openings, all the guts of the machine, the power strips, and then all the fans. Okay, so I think with that, we can call this part 1 video finished. And really appreciate you guys watching this video. Like I said, I welcome all comments, whether they are good or bad. It's okay. I think we learn from all these things. And hope that you really enjoyed this video. Leave me a thumbs up if everything is good. Appreciate you guys, and be good. See you on the part 2.